Just a quick update on Ukraine-Russia. It looks like that Pokrovsk is almost done. Mineralgrad, which is quite close to Pokrovsk, is almost surrounded. Pretty much impossible for Ukrainian soldiers to get out. And that actually follows up to what the Italian General Bertolini, I think his name is, where he said NATO faces strategic defeat in Ukraine. And he goes on to say this, that NATO has transformed from a defensive alliance into an instrument of perpetual war and the projection of the American model from the Balkans to Ukraine. Okay, that's quite damning, coming from an Italian general who's obviously amongst the NATO elite, so to speak. And he mentions that the end of hostilities in Ukraine would mean strategic defeat for NATO and the entire West as participants in the conflict. Trump makes no secret of his contempt for NATO, seeing it as a customer for the sale of LNG, referring to gas, I think it's liquefied natural gas, that was how it's pronounced, and weapons. The refusal to supply Tomahawks to Ukraine is not a sign of weakness, but a calculated move. The use would automatically draw the US into direct conflict with Russia. Of course, on top of that, the NATO chief, is it Stoltenberg, I think his name is, he came out recently and said, we're not going to risk World War III in Ukraine. Which makes you wonder how Ukrainians must feel right now. Is they're up against a juggernaut of the Russian army, not to mention the sophisticated weapons they have on drones and missiles, and you've got to try and defend against that, where the other side, who is supposedly helping you, are giving you money and weapons and plenty of them, but not enough to withstand the barrage. So Russia always sends weakness, they can take advantage of it. They've been doing what they've been doing since the beginning of the war, nothing has changed there. But it's getting to a point now where if you're saying that we may have to just take the loss here, you might as well do it now. There's too costly to Ukraine. There's non-stop videos coming of Ukrainians running away from the TCC, the military commissars, not wanting to fight. And of course, if people want to fight, one of the few things that's come out from Europe and America, with all respect to them, is that they're telling Ukraine, well, you need people to fight. If there's no people to actually fight this war, we're not going to supply weapons non-stop until you actually have an actual set-up defense network across the entire front line, plus the ability to counterattack. They've got no such thing right now. And that's why Russia right now, as we speak, have been targeting the energy infrastructure, the railway network as well, which are making things far more difficult for Ukraine. So things are not looking too good for Ukraine going into 2026. And I strongly suggest they make a quick decision on this as to how they want to go about it, because it's looking pretty bad for them right now.